We will start with a very clean package up here so that we can see how the packages are created in GoLang, and then we'll start with our basic server. For creating a basic server, we will be using Gin, which is a very famous framework for creating GoLang based HTTP servers, and it comes with a lot of pre-built libraries like support for logging, and it has some optimizations as well, which kind of saves a lot of work for a lot of programmers nowadays. So we'll go with the Gin. Even though if you don't want to go with Gin, you have multiple options. Like even the Go language supports its own basic vanilla web server using net HTTP. So yeah, for the sake of this particular tutorial, we'll be going with the Gingonic. So yeah, let me like start out creating with the module, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Okay. So I have created this small setup for basic server, and now I'll create my Go module. So Go mod. Net. Uh, so I created a Go mod file. As you can see, there is a Go mod file on the top left hand of my screen. So now, since we are going with the Gingonic server here, so there are multiple ways to add a basically a server. One is like create a main.go file and then add an import file, and post that. Go to the terminal, run this go mod tidy command, which would all like automatically install any import command which is already there and not yet installed in your go mod. So let me like show you the go mod file. It is like pretty empty right now, and now I'm going to like add my Gingonic module. So the command up here is like go get, and you just provide the module repository name. So I do remember the name for the repository. So that should do it. So once I do the Gingonic, since it's already there in my system for some time, so it didn't take too much time to get the complete required modules into my Go mod file. And as you can see, there is another file added is GoSum. Okay, so if you basically if you just want to run go get, that will just like run go mod tidy all together with it. But overall, since I ran that command, so we have a GoSum file which would have the right set of hashing, including with the uh, module version and all, which helps like keep the everything in track, so that nothing is lost, and the right version of the module with the right hash code is being there. And whenever you build your module and run that module, that time there won't be any surprises later on if the a new version comes up for the module. So I'll not like go too deep down into that particular part. So let's get started with creating our own server. So I'll just like first create a very basic server. um, I'll just create a main.go file. I'll basically name it main, just for the ease of usage, and then post this main. Like let's add import statement at the top of our files, since we know which module we are using. So we'll add Gingonic. Let's create a main function up here so that we are aware. And I'll create a basic router using Gin. Sorry. So basically, a router is created now, and by default, this router would have the address of mm, I'll say it's easier, right? Local host colon 8080. Okay. Now, if you just want to start your router, let's like just start the router up. Okay. Yeah, that should be it. That would just start your router up. So basically, your GoLang based web server is up and running. If I just save this file and run this particular file together all together. Okay, let's like try this command out. Although there is no routing API up here, so that we won't be able to test anything out. But like just for the sake of testing, let's see. All right, it's asking for my permission. As you can see, Jenna started writing the log and it is saying that it's listening and serving the HTTP on 8080. Okay, so I'll just like cancel this one out since we know that this should work. Okay, so let's add an API for testing purposes. I'm adding an API with a basic functionality. Okay, I'm just adding a context of here. So gen dot context. All right, ct dot indented JSON. So what I'll do up here is I'm going to return something as part of this ping command as a JSON response, so that we can verify that this command is working. Basically, this particular API is working, and basically get some response in JSON. Okay, so I will my bad HTTP dot status to okay. Generally, you'll see HTTP status okay as a 200 command for any get operation overall. And let's build a basic functionality here. Oh my bad. Message. I'm just adding ping successful and saving it up. All right. So we have added a basic Go server with a ping API, which is a get API. So upon calling this API, we should be able to get a message called ping successful and a status as okay. Okay. And you should be seeing this new particular import happening net slash HTTP. So basically, in my Visual Studio, I have added another package for Go, which automatically detects anything required as an import whenever I'm adding a code up. So the package here is let me show you. You see this one? It's a Go extension by the Google, which would help me, uh, get a good suggestion on whatever commands I'm importing, which are already there in the library, as well as whichever library I've added in my Go mod. So let's going to get further up here. Previously, when we ran, we knew that there is no API served by the router, so we didn't do any testing. So let's run this out, and we'll confirm that our testing is working when we call the API. Okay, so for calling the API, I have been using this nifty tool called Postman. This is really amazing tool which helps developers build and test any API. Okay, from their development environment, or even or it can help you call the production environment code APIs as well. All right, so we do remember that we are serving local host, and by default port is 8080, and the API is ping, right? Okay, so since the API is ping here, let me just do a send. Let's check. First, it is the status OK, 200 OK, which we wanted, and the message is ping successful. Okay. So this was like the basic test up here for us. Now going forward, if you see, Jin has logged that the API was being called, and there is a 200 response being projected by us. Okay, so this kind of gives us a good gist of whatever the APIs the server is serving, as well as like in case there is any failure or anything, Jen would log all that out, and in future if you want to look into what went wrong in the server, you can just definitely go into the logs and find out what could have been happened, and what error happened during that API call. Okay, so but yeah, going forward, I'll just clean this up because this was just for the testing purposes. um, Now we'll like try to write a basic server with CRUD functionalities. Okay, I think many of you are aware of what CRUD is and REST APIs. So C is for create, R is for retrieve, U is for update, and D is for delete. Okay, so we'll try to like go whole circle while trying to do this operation of CRUD via our own RESTful API router in GoLang. So let's get started with that example, and let me just like create quickly a model for our testing. So let's for suppose say I want to maintain a database of contacts. Okay, I have multiple contacts at my end, and I don't want to keep them in a phone book. Or nowadays, anything everything is mostly sent with our Gmail account or Microsoft accounts. But let's say for the sake of this particular tutorial, let's create a contact person up here, and let's add APIs for creating contacts. So for the sake of tutorial, what we'll be doing up here is that we will create a connection with a database, and in our case we'll be using MongoDB for the testing purposes. And the next up for us is that we will uh, create four APIs. One is like create contact, uh, update a contact, delete contact, and retrieve contact. Okay, so that's it. Let me just like create first the contact. Okay, in our case, I'll call the contact as person because that kind of makes more humane sense to me. So writing structure for a person, struct. First thing we would need of in a person is name. It should be a string. And since we are serving a JSON traffic in GoLang, we have to like ensure that the namings, like whatever we want in our JSON object, how the JSON object should look like. We need to like add that up here upfront. That okay, the although it is like written as name or defined as name in a structure, it should be called as name, or for example, even like go a little bit further. Let's call, we save a person's name with the first name. So although both the first F of first and N of name are capital in our structure, which is a demand of Golang, yeah, we would be using F as the small case, which is a camel casing here for the JSON naming. Similarly, for last name string JSON last, sorry, my bad, last name, let's say phone number. For the sake of tutorial, I'm just adding single phone number. I know in our phone books we do have multiple phone numbers, so we're not going there. Now for the sake of tutorial, let's go ahead with another information, address. This may be a little tricky, so there are two ways to do it. Either we just put the whole address in a single string, but I would not prefer that out. So let's create another structure for address. Okay, so let's like address line 1 is like house address or something, right? That's how we put that in Google or Amazon or any other place. Oh, address line 1, address line 2, address line 2, the city, city, state, generally we require a zip code, and let's say we have people in other countries as well, so why not? All right, so instead of using a common structure like a string structure here, I'll use my personalized structure for testing things out. All right, okay, it's all auto formatted. Now maybe I need an email address. Since it's a contact book, why not? It's a string because email address. All right, now we have created a person and its address, his address. So let's just add a post command, because post is the first thing which would come into our minds whenever we are doing the CRUD operations. And anyways, like we need to create the record first before we even try to fetch things out. Okay, so uh, let's add this post command in person function. I'm getting a context for from Jen that whatever command I'm going to do for person, the context should have all the data, including the object which is being passed to this particular API. Okay, so let's just create a variable for person to. We have not yet populated anything in this particular person, so what we'll do now next is that we'll try to like fetch that person from the context and populate that value out in this particular variable which we created in line number 11 for person. So let us say if everything goes fine, the bind operation should work. But if it does not work, let's add a statement for catching the error out if in case the bind does not work. And then what we'll do is we'll bind the JSON for the person to this particular variable we created for the person. Okay, as you can see, that's the bind operation. And if error is not equal to nil, all right, if error is not equal to nil, that means that there could be something going wrong up here. Okay, let us say the bind operation did not succeed. So we'll say let's give a response to the caller that the bind of basically the person did not bind, so there should be an issue with the request type of object. So all right, my caps lock is on, my bad. HTTP dot status bad request, right? So status bat request would send a 400 code. Okay, and now since we are going to send a 400 code, we have to send an object as well with a message that please provide the details in accepted format. So it's like a small detail for anyone who is going to send the details to us. Now, before we go to Mongo, let us test this API out by using fmt.print. Simple. It's like printing everything into the console. So we are going to print this line out that okay we have got the person. So just for the sake of testing, let's print out the person. Okay, and I have saved this file. Go run main.go. All right. Looks like we have things. Oh my god. Right. Since I need to check like okay what exactly had been there. Yeah, in the person object. So let us say I am host 8080 slash person, right? This is the API. Now I have this post command. I need to send a body, which should be a raw file of JSON. Since my API is accepting a JSON, because I'm binding it with a JSON. All right. So let's say, just for the sake of testing, I sent the first name as FS capital for first name. Okay. Test user last name test last phone number thing like this. I'm not adding validation, so it could be anything wrong with the phone number in terms of validation. So please don't fit that. Let's put address at the end. So let's put email address testing code at the rate the learning.com. I have the address with me. My address should look like and I missed something. That's why my postman was ringing the bell. So in the address, let's see what it is asking. It's asking for address line 1. Let's say test house test street. That's how in general address line ones are. Address line 2 test quality, most likely city, since everything is test, so why not test city? Alright, in that case state test state say code 11111, maybe something like this. Country, let's say India. So ideally, this call should fail because we have an issue with our first name. So there should be a bind issue. Let's try it out. Do-do-do. Okay, it's not showing any blind issue, but as you can see, first name comes out to be correct. Everything comes out to be correct, and as you can see, this fmd print line command has printed the object out up here in the format it understands, and we have received the post request twice. Now there is another issue of with this particular command, that we have not returned any object up here. So let's say, since the command is successful, I would like to and send status accepted. Okay, and I would like to send that message creation successful. Okay. Earlier, if you see, there was no response message up here, but there was a response for 200. Okay, okay. Generally, for post command, 200 is not the right response. We generally go for 201 in order for the creation. But since we got a 200, so now we have explicitly mentioned that the HTTP status code should be 200. Sorry, it's 202 status created. My bad. So if you see, status created is the right one. Now I'll just like go ahead with the same thing again. Go run main.go, server is up, and if I run this command, you will see 201 as well as our response body, right? 201 and a response body creation successful. Okay, so like this is a very basic setup for a Go server post command. Okay, now ideally I would not like like to clutter everything out up here. So why not like go ahead with the creating a separate basically class for maintaining the person out, so that my router's main page is much more cleaner. Right. So the for the sake of saving time, I have created a package up here with the name controllers, which will have multiple controllers. In our case, currently we only have person as the controller, which would have a create API at the moment. Since this create person method is here, and I'll just be going up there and just use the controller dot create person. So that's how the controllers package would be created or basically imported up here. And if you see, we actually initially created the module by name github.com slash the learning bar slash basic server. Similarly, since there is another package in this particular module, I just have to basically use the complete module name and slash the package name. That's how the controls package is going to be used. And now once I have a router post statement, I can directly use the method from controllers and call it up here. Okay, so let's like test that out once quickly, and then we can go ahead with creating our own MongoDB connection, so that we can at least try creating the person object out there. Okay, as you can see, when I make the call, there is a 201, and there is a like logging up here from the FMT. So that aside, since our controller is working fine, and now what we can do here is that since we have a controller, let's like create another module directly inside the basic server called database module. Not module, it's a package. Connection.go. Okay, Basically, in this file, we'll be making a connection. Okay, package database, which kind of makes sense, right? And to save the time, I already have created a package for one of my other project for the database. So let me just like copy that out, and we can just quickly go through that file and test things out. Cancel. Sorry, I have to create a open a new window. To alpha, I am going to completely clean. Now, as you can see, my MongoDB is not yet there in the Go mod file, right? So what we need to do is two ways. Go mod tidy. That should get me all the required packages for MongoDB. In my Go mod file, if you see, now I have MongoDB driver as well, along with all the GoSum for MongoDB here. Okay, so in a while this whole thing would be like fixed, right? Now let me like just go through this particular code out. Up here, what I'm doing is creating a singleton class for database. Why we need a singleton class is, in most of our code, we don't want to make connection with database for each and every call we make to the database. That would like take a lot of time out, and as well as uh, basically the API response time would increase a lot if we are making a database connection for every call. So what we are doing up here is, first thing, let me just like fix this out. I'm going to rename the symbol to database connection. So I created this connection out where I have a connection as well as a context. So basically, it will create a MongoDB client. Let me also refactor that out. Rename symbol client. MongoDB client, which would help me connect to the MongoDB, as well as I have a context where basically the context is being sent to MongoDB. Now, I created a variable for database called DB, and I created a function new which would allow me to share the database connection with the MongoDB, and if the connection is still not there, it will create the connection and return the object. And if in case the connection is already created, it will not create another connection in the database, rather it will use the same connection which is saved in this particular variable. Okay, so the code I have written is something like this. If db is null, that is the connection is null, or basically the value is not there, we'll connect to the MongoDB. So the URL for MongoDB is pretty standard. If you have MongoDB installed in your data in your desktops, it's like something like this. I have MongoDB Compass installed in my desktop, and I'm going to use that for the testing purposes. So I have this for connection. You can host your MongoDB using Docker if you want, and that is kind of very also an easy way to run MongoDB in your system without worrying about app update or anything, since Docker images are run directly free of the environment. Okay, so if the error is there, it will panic and it will like close the application that the database connection is not there. It's just a very crude code, so we are not going to very we are not very nicely handling it, but yeah, it's there. And if the connection since the connection is there now being set up, we are going to return the value out. Okay, instead of returning the value out, yeah, so we are returning the value out, and we are returning the db if the value is there already. Okay, Now, basically, this close method is for closing the connection and canceling the context out. And similarly, there is a connect method which are we are using up there for making a connection. All right. So now the thing is that we are making a very default and basic connection with MongoDB, and this code I actually have taken from the MongoDB GitHub repository, which is pretty straightforward. All right. So going forward up here, let me just like reuse this particular method out. Okay, in person. All right. So what I'll do up here is I'll connect to the MongoDB and save the record into the MongoDB when need be. Okay. So let me just like set up things up. Uh, Func save person to DB. So I am creating a small function for saving the person to the database, and I'm going to send the in context to the database. At the same time, I am sending person record with of type person. Okay. Now, since I'm going to save the data to the DB, let me use connections file. Okay. Again, it is a database and it's a new package, so I have to go ahead and this import because it's not there yet. Basic server slash database, right? Now, mm, database dot, let's use new. Okay, we are creating a new connection with the database, saving it out. Now we are actually have created the connection with the database. Post connection, what we need to do is, let me show you on my MongoDB. I have multiple databases for admin. There is a person already there, but let's create another one. Person for demo collection. So in MongoDB databases, we create multiple collections, and for each collection saves a particular set of records. In our case, we are going to save records for a person in the person for demo collection. And the database, if you see, the database name is admin. So we are going to like create a connection with the admin, and try to like use that connection with that admin to use their collection in order to make the call, or basically save the person to that particular table. Okay, so collection, let's call it collection object. Now db dot client dot connect. Since I want to connect to the client, what is it, admin, right? To uh, I'm going to use the database for admin. Then I'm using collection. Collection name is what? Person for demo. Let's verify it once again. Person for demo. Okay. Now in the collection, since now the collection is created, response slash insert error. Okay. So basically, if there is a response coming from the collection, which should be ideally the ID coming from MongoDB, um, that means that the creation has been successful. Otherwise, there would be an insertion error. Okay. So Let's like start with the response here. Okay, first like go with the creating a collection document. Okay, so if you see insert one, now it is asking for a context. Okay, which we have got from Jen. Now what we need to do is we need to send this person record into this context and into this insert one, which would insert single record into into MongoDB. Now, if insert error is not equal to nil, okay, what we will do? If the error is not equal to nil, we are going to give a response that okay, things are not working fine with our dependency, right? Since the MongoDB is a dependency in this case, and give a response that right, unable to uh, create person in the database due to internal failures, because we don't want to our customers or basically anyone calling the API to feel that anything is wrong with the application. That is like a general nice way of putting the failure message out. Otherwise, if everything is passed, let us return the value as success. Okay, http dot status created, since it's a production code for creating API, hence 201 status code. 222 ID. Let's get the response I, ID from the response. Okay, get the response. What's happening? Do it. This oh, response dot to it's not giving. Then let's say person record dot ID, right? Because there is an ID up in there, the person record which we forgot to add. So let's say we have an ID as well. We are going to accept an ID for the person, but ID, right? That's going to be gen.h, which I missed earlier, right? Okay, it's showing some error. Let's print the response out. Okay, since response is giving us an inserted ID, why not use that, right? Response dot inserted ID. So basically now we have all the basic query ready for saving a person into the into the MongoDB. Sorry, I'm more used to DynamoDB nowadays. Working a lot on the projects using DynamoDB. So pardon the intrusion. One more thing with MongoDB is that you would require to convert the object to BSON, which is a type supported by MongoDB. So you might need to use something like this. Since MongoDB has an API for BSON, sorry, for ID, that it uses underscore ID as the default ID for any object. So let's use that ID for our BSON object. And similarly, first name, right? So why? not copy these out, right? Update them to this one. That makes our life a little easier overall, I would say. Similar up here. Okay. So now if we run the server out, we should be able to save a record in MongoDB. Okay. So I added this record. Let me just run the command. If you see, I'm getting a test ID as a response, which ideally should be coming from MongoDB. So let's quickly check the MongoDB out. It might take a second for the document to come up. Well, since the document comes up, in the meanwhile, what we'll do, we created the create function for CRUD APIs, right? Now, what we'll do is we will do retrieve. Okay, retrieve function for CRUD APIs. Okay, now get person. All right, we will use this method to get a person by the person ID. All right, again the same thing, person, person. Now, since we are trying to get a person, what we would need to do is that we need to fetch the ID from the parameters. Okay, like in this particular API, what we're going to do is we'll do something like this: person dash some person's ID, which we already had. So it'll like look something like this: ct dot params param ID. Okay. So what we'll do is it'll fetch the ID from the parameters which we are going to use, right? First, get the ID like this in a variable. Now, since we have the ID, what we need to do is we need to create a DynamoDB connect. Sorry, a MongoDB connection. All right. Database dot new. Now we have a database connection up here. What we'll do is we'll create a collection connection up here, db.client.database admin collection person for demo. So now we have the collection, right? Do you see that we are following the same pattern again and again? Why not like put a common function downwards, probably to get the collection out? What do you think? What we need up here is it's a MongoDB database collection, or maybe like for the sake of tutorial, let's create another setup up here without like delving deep into like creating collection once again, or basically common function for collections. So where result. What result we are expecting up here is it's a person record, or actually, uh, will I go for a result? But let's say I'll go for a result. Okay. Now, what? How do we make the query to the MongoDB? Okay. So in MongoDB, we'll use the filter operation to find the first element which actually goes which actually matches the ID out. So what I'll do is I'll create a filter object which would be based out of bson dot d. What I'm searching for ID, values ID. Now our filter is ready, which is a bson value. Now what we are going to do is use the collection to find one data given the context, right? And the filter, when you get the data, decode the value into person. In our case, it's a result. I keep interchanging the things out. My bad. We are decoding the results out. If you see, what it returns is an error. So we need a error check as well. Okay. If error is not equal to null, we know that we did not find or there was an issue with the operation. So we would return again. Um, Status not found would be a better status in this case. Bin.h. We are creating the object that unable to find the person. All right. In the meanwhile, otherwise, if the data is there, context then indented JSON again HTTP status found, since it's found, and it should be 200 OK. That is the right status for any git command, and return the person out, which is result in our case. All right. As you see, it already automatically added bson, which we needed up here. Okay. Now, what we need to do is we need to add a route in our router with a get command to slash person slash controllers dot get person API. Oopsie. Controllers dot get person. So if you see, the API is now here, and they look identical, right? Since we are accepting a parameter, it should look like something like this. Okay, that will help us find out that this is the ID. Okay, so that's the get API. Now let's run the server again. Okay, allow access. First confirm that we have a data up here, which ideally should have come out. See, we have the data with ID test ID. Okay, let's test this out. Okay, slash test ID. We are already into the get command. So person slash test ID. as you see, and I actually use the wrong status. Ideally it should be status okay. We have to be very mindful of the status which we add in our API, that helps make the API response standard, which is understandable by other developers. Okay, so let's perform things out once again. Allow access. If I send, I'll get a 200 okay, which is the right response. Now we have done the retrieve operation. Let's complete the update operation. Okay, or for the sake of this tutorial, let's do the delete function. All right, this also would be taking a person ID, func delete person cd in context id context. We'll just fetch the id out from context id. Let's make a db connection quickly. I'll just like copy this file or line out. To collection dot delete one. It would require a context as well as a filter. So let's create a filter here for finding the value. So we know the values out. Since it's an ID based, filter, basically that should be it. If you see, it's returning a delete result and a error message. Okay, we are not concerned about the result but the error message, because we know that if the delete is successful, so the element should have been gone. Okay, in case of error message, http to I am just going for a field dependency in dot h, sorry my bad, message unable to delete person from the records. Let's keep it just simple as that. ct dot indented json http dot, so let's see. Should work fine for us. And status accepted is a right one as well. It works if our API is fine. Basically, delete API is asynchronous. Since it's an impromptu thing, I think we should be fine up here. Successfully deleted the person, and I save it. And I Made a mistake. I don't need to use first params. Now what we need is we need to add another API person slash ID controllers delete. Only that much and our API is up in our router. Let's run the server again. I'm allowing the access. We all have this record already, right? Instead of get, let's use delete. So it says successfully deleted the record. If I see the record in a while, it's all gone, right? Pretty good. So what we did up till now is we caught the person, we created the person, and now we deleted the person, right? Last one, but not the least, is update function. All right. Now for this, what we need to use is, let's say I have a person ID with me. I'm just keeping this one simple. Update person context. What I'll do is I'll create a person with a test ID, and then I'll start updating putting minor modification into that particular person out. Okay. So let's say we have this ID to be sorry, param. I want to make another mistake. DB database dot new collection equals. Why not? Copy paste. Filter. First, let's check what collection has for us. Right? Does it have? It does have. Now, what it does need is it needs a context, a filter, and a interface. Okay. How you fetch the interface? We saw that in create person, right? So let's use that only. Fetch the person out. Now we are fetching the updated person information. In the filter, we are sending this person out. Okay. And if the update operation is successful, it has an update result and an error. Let us just say we don't care about the result for the time being. Obviously, we should care about the result, but for the time we are just testing things out, right? If there is an error, we are just going to return http dot status failed dependency, which is kind of what we have been going with. Message successful to update the person in the records. Okay. Otherwise, let's say ftb dot status accepted name.h. Fully update the person in the records. So we have now done the work at our end. Oh, so there are two issues it is showing us. All right, we don't need the ID actually, but we do run messed up filter creation. Json.b. If you see, everything is looking fine up here, right? So let's add an update operation, which is put in our case. Put API is generally used for both post and update operations. Basically, if the value is not there, you use put for posting that value out there, and if it does present, we use put to update the value, or basically in our case, person record. Okay, controllers dot update person. That's the right controller. Yes, we have everything ready. Now do go run main.go. Everything looks fine. Server is up and ready. First things first, I'll just create this record out. So let's verify the record is created. Yes, it is created. We already tested the delete out. So let me use this only for put operation because that makes my life easier. Yeah, test ID. If I do a test ID, let's update street to test first. All right, I don't need. Yeah, yeah. Let's go with it. Ideally, what it's saying, there is some issue. What the issue is to is that unable to update the record, and it is also a successful update. So what we need to do is we need to fix the first thing out is the error message should be coming, not coming like this. We need to add a else statement here so that in case of an error comes up, we don't get two similar messages out. Okay. Hmm. And one more thing we need to do is remove ID. Okay. We are running the method out. Seems like it's taking a little bit of time. It should not have. Okay. Um. So it's saying it's unable to process the records. I think yeah, there is one issue up here is that we are using D. Let's use M for getting the map out. Okay. So let's like get the map for IT. Instead of doing the complete person, let's use a smaller scale for update. Maybe like update the person's first name. So update person first name. I'll just set up uh, this on D for this command. I'll end a command for a set value which would say that the next command which is bson d In this, use first name as the first parameter and send this particular value for the first name. Okay, that should be the command it should have. Okay, so now instead of person, I'll send first person update me. Okay, now if I run this command out, yeah, we already have this. Let's say I'm saying test first one, send this out. I'm seeing a successful response, so there is no error up here coming up. Let us check quickly if the value updated. The value is updated. All right. So we have successfully updated the person's first name. Similarly, I think we can add complexity to the operation. Maybe instead of sending updating, person's first name, maybe update the address out. Okay, something like um, address, right? So maybe like if you see this, run this, it will not say anything. We already updated the address with value 34. Locality is maybe 234. If I send the value out, it ideally should update the address, and it did. All right. Let me check this out quickly. The value is 34234, which gives us confidence that we are able to update the person information whenever we need to. All right, since the tutorial has come to an end, so what? Let's do a quick recap and see what we have learned so far, right? So first thing we learned is creating a server using Gin library, which saves a lot of time for us by creating a server quickly in two particular set of commands. That's like a two-liner code and saves a lot ton of time setting up everything for the server. Secondly, we try to understand CRUD APIs as well as try to implement them by using post operation for creation, retrieve for retrieval we use get operation, for update we use put operation, and for delete already delete, right? Um, and in addition to the CRUD APIs, we try to connect the server to the MongoDB as a database where we are able to manage the data out by adding a entry. Retrieving an entry, updating an entry, as well as deleting an entry. This kinds of all in all combines a connection of a server to the database and creates a small set of service, uh, which can be easily called out by any development environment for testing purposes, or when you actually work towards creating a very complex application. Just these basics will really help. I hope you liked the video, and I hope it was a really understandable as much as possible. If you like the video, please do subscribe us, like the video, as well as press that bell icon for more updates from our channel. Thank you.